La for, hit the for none. All the time, la for, hit the for none. For Islam stand for peace. La for, hit the for none. For Islam stand for peace.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We welcome you all to yet another episode of your series Real Talk Africa. In this program, we discuss issues that are wide-ranging, affecting man's moral, physical, and spiritual well-being. In today's episode, we will be delving into the matters of 7, the Jama'at, and we will be doing this with the Majlis Khudamul Ahmadiyya, the male youth wing organization of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We want to know as to why they find it very important to invest their time, their energy, their resources into the service of the Jama'at, into the service of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, instead of putting that energy in their various social works that they find themselves to gain this, let's say, worldly development that their colleagues or some of their colleagues would like to seek in this era and day of ours. We want to know who their role models were and how they have aspired to also gain interest in serving the community and how far they've been able to do this with the mighty of Allah, with the help and might of Allah, the Almighty. With me here in the studios are 3 very important guests of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We have here Mr. Wahab Edusei Sahib. Please, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And also Mr. Ahmed Mensa Sahib. You're also welcome, please.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Hanif Bipua Sahib, also a member of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in Ghana. Our dear viewers, as you know, Real Talk Africa, in this program we have our live studio audience here with us who always make the program very, very interesting with their questions, their comments, and also their experiences sharing with us. You are also welcome, our most honorable audience. Okay, so our cherished viewers out there, we shall be kicking the program on, or we shall be starting the program today. And we would like to know where these guests of ours are from. We want to know a little of their background, where they are from, how or what they are doing now, and their status or what position they are holding when it comes to the Majlis Khudamul Ahmadiyya, the male youth wing organization of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in Ghana. We will start with Mr. Wahab Edusei Sahib. Please, we want to know briefly, but almost everything about you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So I am Abdul Wahab Edusei. I'm from Kumasi. That's where I've lived almost my entire life. I attended Tia Ahmadiyya Secondary School. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and I'm currently doing a master's degree in monitoring and evaluation. I'm also a homeopath and a business manager. I'm currently Muawin Sadr, Majlis Khudamul Ahmadiyya. I'm an aide to the Sadr, but before that, I served in various offices at the regional level, and I also served as Kai Dilaka Ashanti region and Kumasi zone. So basically, that's me.
Jazakumullah. We'll go to Mr. Ahmed Mensa Sahib. Also, something brief, but almost everything.
Yes, my name is Ahmed Kweku Mensa. I come from Aguna Swedru in the central region, but I've lived a good part of my life in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. I hold a BA in Publishing Administration. I'm a police officer by profession. Currently, I'm the Accra Zona Guide. I've also held the Nazim Rishtanata. I'm the first ever Rishtanata National Secretary for Ghana. I have also worked as the preaching secretary for Greater Accra Zone. So that is a brief sketch about me.
Okay. Hani, before I also want to know something about you.
Jazakumullah. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As you already stated, I am Hanif Bipwa. I'm Sisala by tribe. I'm from Nabulo in the Upper West region. And I spent about 11 years of my life in Tumu, 6 years in Wa, and the last 21 years in Kumasi.
Mashallah.
Since I migrated to do my senior high school, secondary school till now. I hold a bachelor's degree in biological sciences and a master's degree in biological sciences. I'm doing a PhD in environmental engineering, and I'm also doing my professional law course. I'm a teacher currently, and I spent about 8 years in the classroom teaching biology, but now I'm in the office, and I'm the supervisor in Ahmadiyya Education Unit, Ashanti region. And I'm a professional teacher, so to speak, hoping to graduate a few other courses, and maybe the profession changes. I'm Naib Sadr Majlis Udamul Ahmadiyya currently. I've previously held the regional Qaid Ashanti region. I've held Mutamad, I've held Ishat, I've held Umumi, and a number of other duties in AMSAG back in school days.
Mashallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. I would say that those watching, indeed, we have a very strong guest here today because looking at their backgrounds, merging the social aspect or the worldly aspect, as people would claim, that is seeking education to the highest level, and also with that alongside getting into Jama'at positions on and on and on. Mr. Ahmed Mensah Sahib, we would come to you now. We want to know, with all these degrees you are pursuing and even your current work as a police, and then Jama'at activities, getting to this limit, we all know that they wouldn't just put you to that status as the head of a whole region if you hadn't started from somewhere. So it means you've dedicated most of your times to the service of the Jama'at, and that is why you are at where you are now. So we want to know when and how, and also why did you get involved into this service to Jama'at?
Actually, my role model has been my father. It is no big surprise that I ended up being a policeman. My father is a policeman,
Okay.
and the beauty about his life was that whichever village he was transferred to, he made sure that he helped the Jama'at there to establish and also put in his best for the Jama'at. I quite remember when we were posted to Tiobodom, close to Techima in the Brown Hafo region. My father had to host the Jama'at to be praying at our end. And then also, before he left Tiobodom, the Jama'at had purchased a land and had started laying blocks for a mosque. Then again, he used to invite preachers to Tiobodom to come and preach. All these beautiful scenes we witnessed in our youthful age, in our childhood age, and it really pushed us that when we grow up, we also want to merge Islam with our social life or private life. But actually, it really kicked off when we were posted to Kumasi, where I came to meet a lot of other big role models. I remember the KJTR preaching. You may think KJTR preaching is funded by Jama'at Ghana, but there are certain individuals who actually played robotic roles. Every Sunday, they are there to dedicate their time and their resources to make sure that the propagation of Islam Ahmadiyya was done. So all these things we also witnessed, and it was something like we promised ourselves that we also emulate these steps. So then again, I also have some of my role models also seated here with me. Hani Bipuasai was the AMSAG president when I went to KNUST. And the sort of military lifestyle we used to live for Jama'at in our time, it is always refreshing to even think about it, remember those times.
Mashallah, as you just mentioned, Hani before, we would want to take it from him. He has mentioned the fact that his father played a very important role, and also coming to Kumasi, the KTR preaching and all that, and has even mentioned you to be part of those who instilled this service or this devotion given out to Jama'at. We want to know, from your end also, what inspired you? Was it an invitation from someone, or what at all motivated you to be said devoted to the Jama'at for someone who is now the head of the whole community in Greater Accra, mentioning you as a model?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So it's a long story we have to tell in the program. He is equally someone who has inspired me a lot, particularly the way he's so spiritual. He was very devoted to spiritual related activities. So we made him imam for that purpose.
Mashallah.
So I'm grateful that I've known him then. My role models, of course, include my father and mother to a good extent. One thing I learned from my father is you speak the truth all the time and you damn the consequences. And what I mean, the consequences are that you do not care that it disadvantages you in some worldly advantage you sought. And whether you end up be a poor man, that's no matter to him. He always told me that he cannot speak in secret. So even when he's in the room and he's trying to speak in secret, everybody outside can hear. So he says he doesn't try to hide things. It helped me a lot. So I equally try to speak the truth all the time. Again, I think my father sent me away very early in life, and that helped me build myself in Jama'at Ahmadiyyat, because from where I came, Jama'at Ahmadiyyat wasn't so strong. So when he managed to get me to TI Amas Kumasi, that is where I got exposed to Ahmadiyya so much. I'll mention two names of people who really inspired me so much to get into Majlis Udam al-Ahmadiyya. The first person was Farouk Nyame from KNUST, who was the president when I came to school. He visited me once when I was sick, and it inspired me so much. From then, even my money, when I have it, I think it is for Ahmadiyya. Everything.
Mashallah.
As long as Ahmadiyya is going on, I'm happy.
Mashallah.
And that is Farouk Nyame. He instilled that in me from day one. Then we have Mr. Jamil Bedu. He happens to be this man's elder brother. Mr. Jamal Ibrahim Bedu, he's currently the regional president in Ashanti region. He then brought me into Majlis Amla and made me Ishat and started moving me from office to office. He instilled a lot of trust in me. And so these were some of the things that inspired me. My principle has always been that a man must stand for something. And Ahmadiyya is known to be the most disciplined religious organization. So if we have these beautiful teachings, I must try to emulate them. That has inspired me all these years to try to participate in these activities, because I know that one part of Islam is service to humanity, and doing these things will ensure I serve humanity well.
Mashallah.
These are some of the inspirational things.
Mashallah. There you have it all. They've mentioned so much of inspirational messages that I think, or I believe, if we are all watching and we are taking note, I think we are going to benefit from it a lot. As I mentioned, we have our studio audience here. I know they also have some one or two questions or comments to submit. But before I come to the studio audience, I would like to take it from Mr. Wahab Edusei Sahib. We want to know now, it looks as if the Ashanti region played a big role when it comes to the lives of people dedicating their lives to the Jama'at. And as you mentioned that you've lived almost all your life in Kumasi, we want to know in what aspect or in what ways did you get also your motivation And why did you decide to dedicate almost everything to the service of the Jama'at?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You mentioned Ashanti region. Earlier this morning, I was in a conversation with a gentleman who happens to be in another city in Kumasi, in Ghana. He's working in another city. And he mentioned that he's always wishing that he's transferred to Kumasi because there's something about Kumasi. Kumasi seems to be the heart of Ahmadiyyat in Ghana.
Mashallah, mashallah.
If you spend a bit of time in Kumasi and you are taken out of Kumasi, you miss Kumasi because of Ahmadiyyat. So definitely there's something in Kumasi. But before we come to the whole Kumasi picture, I was raised in a family where service to Jama'at seems to be the theme. From childhood, when you are born, it's almost as if you have been born for Jama'at. That was the theme that my parents, brought us up with. My father was a man who breathed Ahmadiyya. He drank Ahmadiyya. He ate Ahmadiyya. He walked Ahmadiyya. His whole life was Ahmadiyya. When he was alive, if you ask him, that we've seen that a lot of people associate themselves with, this political party, and that political party. What party do you support? He will say, my party is Ahmadiyya. Yes, so I mean, he was every thought of his was Ahmadiyya. He once said to my elder brother that if the Christians knew the thoughts that I'm thinking in favor of Ahmadiyya against Christianity, they would have looked for me and killed me. Because everything of his was Ahmadiyya. And he worked for Ahmadiyya. He was a missionary all his life. And he brought us up with that kind of spirit. Once I found myself outside Ghana, and a gentleman was introducing me to a Pakistani brother. And he said, this is one of our missionaries. So the Pakistani brother asked me, which Jamia did you go to? Which Islamic university did you go to? Then the gentleman answered the Pakistani brother and said, he didn't go to any Jamia, but then his parents has brought him up in a way that he is a missionary for the Jama'at. So in my family, that's how you are brought up. Then Kumasi plays, that role. As we were growing up, we had these tarbiyat classes every Sunday. On Sunday, my father would make sure that after we've gone for tarbiyat classes and we've come home, he would then gather all of us into a car and take us to KJTR for preaching. And gradually, as you grow, they kind of put you into, they train you to take over, the preaching, the KJTR preaching, and also a lot, from my father, my parents, my siblings. I also watched my brother or my brothers and some other family members, play so much role in Jama'at Ahmadiyya. When we were building the Kumasi, mosque, I mean, when we are having Wakari Amal, it's a beautiful sight to see. You see old men, he cannot even stand up straight. He's bended, but then he is carrying mortar and what. So that kind of spirit, it puts in you actively and passively. It's like you are just being brought up for Jama'at. My father will tell me that apart from Jama'at Ahmadiyya, what else do you have? You cannot go and join these Roman Catholics when they are taking their communion. What you have is Jama'at Ahmadiyya, so you have to serve, Jama'at Ahmadiyya. When I grew up, the one person who got me into active service in the Majlis was Mr. Jamil Ibrahim Bedu, who Naif Sadar mentioned him. I was 21 years old then when he called me one Friday, and told me that he wanted to pull me into the Amla. I was shocked, to say the least, because I felt I was too young. There were people who were more advanced in age, in experience, in everything, who could fill whatever role he wanted me to play. But then he encouraged me and got me into the AMLA. I served in various offices as a Tajinid officer, Tarbiyat, Talim. I also served under my brother Hanif Bipwa, and he also played a very important role, you know, in my service to you know, the Majlis.
Okay. Jazakumullah Hassan Jaza. We are having so many stories. They are not just stories. They are faith-inspiring messages that we are getting from our respected guests we having in the studio right now. We will move to our audience, as I mentioned earlier on, if anyone has anything for them. Okay, please. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I must say we are much grateful to be part of the program. We are learning so much and being encouraged to carry out the normal duties we are on carrying to the highest. I would personally like to ask how a police officer is able to couple Jama'at activities, because I know it's very hectic in a way. And it's also looked like he's very gentle to me. The extent that he's probably have not been angry before. I want to know what actually is being his secret.
Okay, that is for Mr. Ahmed Mensah. But before you take on that question, we want to take one from the other gentleman there. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm very grateful to be part of the program and happy to see my senior colleagues here, since I can say they also inspired me from the beginning. I grew up in a town where my mother, grandmother, my sister, and myself, we were the only Ahmadis in the town. So we used to once a while attend Jama'at Kufoidra, we at Achimtafo. So knowing Ahmadiyya in details wasn't that there. But I can say that it seems being an Ahmadi is in the blood. Because later when I got to know much about my father, I got to know that he was a very key member in Ahmadiyya in the Eastern region. So when I moved to university, because SS, I attended a Catholic school, still I wasn't much involved in any Ahmadiyya activity. But going to the university, Legon, that is where personally I involved myself in AMSAC. I rose to become the vice president for Greater Accra region. And I met my senior brother, Mr. Hanif. He also inspired me a lot, pulled me along, especially my thanks also goes to Irfan Hamad, our Naib Mutamad. I would say he brought me up because he really showed me more about Ahmadiyya, the teachings and everything. So he has been a great man in my life concerning Ahmadiyya. And then I saw my senior brother who also pulled me along. So I'm very grateful to be part of the program.
MashaAllah. So that's it from our audience. I hope you at home and wherever you are watching us today, you are very, very much enjoying our program today. This is still Real Talk Africa, and today we are discussing the service to humanity, service to mankind by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Organization here in Ghana. Now, Mr. Ahmed Sahib, as our gentleman rightly mentioned, being a police, your work, it seems to be very, very demanding, but still you get enough time or time for the Jama'at. So he wants to know how you get that much time for the Jama'at. And also, he sees that you are someone who has a very good control over your temper. So he wants to know how, being a policeman, you're able to control your temper at that level, and also merging the Jama'at work with your social work.
Yeah, I think that this is a question of priorities. Priorities. What you spend your spare time on. whatever work you are in, I believe you have access to leave. You have access to permission, to ask for permission. So I believe that those people who do not, in quotes, have time, get this access to leave, get access to permission to do other things. And it's just a question of priority. Prioritizing Ahmadiyya, prioritizing the worship of God, and then spending it on the worship of Allah the Almighty. There are, in every institution that you are, I'm sure you have a time for break, for instance. So if somebody is working and says he doesn't have time to perform salat, that person has time to eat lunch. So if the person is telling you that he doesn't have time to say Zuhur or Asr, it is just a question of priorities and what you spend your time on. As for the time, it has been given to us by Allah the Almighty, and it is for us to spend.
That is very well said. Now we will move to Hanif Bipor Sahib. Your level of dedication, I wouldn't talk much about it because it looks as if everyone here is talking about it. So we want to know, this service that you are rendering to the Jama'at, this service that you are, or this dedication that you have put up, we want to know, how does that improve your social life? Because there are many people who do say that if I am to dedicate almost all my time to the Jama'at, how will I be able to work in my within my social life? How would I get that rank people are getting? So we want to know how you are, because you've mentioned the PhDs and the degrees you've been able to acquire. So we want to know how you're able to merge these things.
Alhamdulillah, I would first of all give thanks to Allah for how far we've come. And I would want to identify first of all that the prayers of the Khalifa has been a cornerstone in my life and in some of my successes. From word-go, when I started participating in mainstream Majlis activities, I got used to writing letters to the Khalifa. And in every letter I wrote to the Khalifa, the first paragraph, I stated what duty I'm running or holding. And it will include Majlis duty. It's likely to include MTA volunteer, Humanity First volunteer. And I believe he prays for me. I got opportunity to meet him once. And it was whilst I was doing my master's outside Ghana. And he asked me what I wanted from him. It was an unusual question because in that Ta'aleem class, he didn't ask anyone that question. And then I told him I wanted him to pray so that I succeed in my academics. Ever since then, yes, alhamdulillah, I've never been out of the top 5 in any class that I've been in since then, combining all the activities we do. And so I would say that the service to Jama'at Ahmadiyya and to Majlis Udama al-Ahmadiyya has enhanced me in ways I could never dream about, both academically and socially. Now I fit into almost every society because in Ahmadiyya, the work we do, we deal with almost every manner of persons. So we get used to how to deal with people with temper, obedience to authority, how to be pragmatic, how to report to people, how to obey time. We get used to all these things by our training in Majlis Udama al-Ahmadiyya. So the benefits I've gotten from my service to Jama'at, as far as my social life is concerned, are enormous. Because when I'm working with my superiors, I know how to work with them because I have superiors in Majlis Udama al-Ahmadiyya. And when I'm working with my followers, I have many of them in Majlis Udama al-Ahmadiyya, so I know how to deal with them. I was just in the room today, in the guest room, and a young man walked in and was like, I need food. There was no food. I looked in the fridge, found something together for him. He finished briefly, smiled, and said, can he have some water to wash? I said, no, it's my job here. I'll go and wash it. The young man didn't believe it. Initially, myself, I was surprised I did all those things. But I did them quite out of reflex. But this is what Ahmadiyya teaches us. The young man cannot believe that his Naib Sadri is doing that. But I thought it was normal to do. Elsewhere, people don't do things this way. This is what Majlis Udama Ahmadiyya has done for me. In my class or classes that I find myself, I mostly am a judge to arguments. A lecturer will have an issue and then they say, Hanif did this. He say, oh, Hanif, oh, I believe Hanif. As for Hanif, I believe him. And it's quite normal because we take everything seriously. We try to be honest all the time. When you are participating in any program, you are pragmatic, you are methodical. Everything you are doing, you are looking to the end. A lot of people don't know how to do these things. Majlis Sudam Ahmadiyya has trained us. So we just try to learn from Majlis Sudam Ahmadiyya and use it in our lives. Even in our marriages, it works. You just let your wife know who you are even before you marry your wife. And she even helps you succeed in all your activities. So this is the little I can say how Majlis is helping me in other activities in life.
MashaAllah. I would put that same question to you, Mr. Wahab Sahib. Upon all your activities, how does the service to Jama'at help you with your social work?
Well, I like to, side with my brothers on all that they've said. First and foremost, if you are, if you want to combine the work of the Majlis with your work, your marriage and everything, it's a matter of priorities. I don't believe that, I've always said, and I say this to many Khuddam, that the normal saying that I don't have time, I don't believe in that statement. Everybody has time. Time is eternal. Nobody has outlived time. So we have abundance of time. It's just a matter of priorities, that I want to do this. I want to do this. And in Akan, first and foremost, we have this saying that that is, if you have many farms, you attend to all of them. So I managed to attend to everything in my life. But then it's a matter of priority. I mentioned my father earlier. My father brought us up in a way that Ahmadiyya was always the priority. He made us understand by word and by action that if he has something and we need that thing, and Jama'at Ahmadiyya also needs that thing, he will attend to Jama'at Ahmadiyya first, unless it's a matter of life and death. So growing up, we've had that, in our minds. When I was getting married, for instance, I made my wife understand that unless it's a matter of life and death, if you need my time and Jama'at Ahmadiyya needs my time, I'll attend to Jama'at Ahmadiyya first before I attend to you. You see, so you prioritize all that wherever you find yourself. If you prioritize your Jama'at and make sure that the people you are working with, the people you are dealing with, they know that as for this gentleman, he doesn't joke with his work, for Jama'at. They actually help you. In my workplace, in my family, my nuclear family and my extended family, everybody knows that at certain times I'm not to be contacted because I'm working for Jama'at. When my parents were alive, my father was alive, for instance, I used to render certain services to him. But then at certain times, he knows that at this point in time, I'm not supposed to call Abdul Wahab because I know he is doing this for the Jama'at. My wife knows this. People I work with know that. So that's what we do. And the Jama'at, it trains you. The Jama'at trains you in a way that you don't even see sometimes. But then when you find yourself in certain situations, you realize that the Jama'at taught me this and I have been able to put it into practice. I remember when I was in school, when I was reading my academic works in my master's, once I was given an assignment, a class assignment. The lecturer was taking it. And as I sat there, whatever he taught, I didn't really get the concept. But then as I read the question and tried to think about it, my mind came to one thing that we've been working with all our lives, practically. The consolidated program of Ahmadiyya and how, of the Majlis, and how it breaks down the activities of the Majlis. I just picked one office, Khidmat Khalq, and then I listed the activities of the Majlis, broke them down, and eventually I was able to do that assignment with, that office of the Majlis. So, the Majlis trains you in in a way that wherever you find yourself, you stand out. You stand out. I've always said that when you become an Ahmadi, Allah blesses you with, an open mind. And so wherever you find yourself, you see things differently. As my brother Hanif said, sometimes you become the judge for arguments. People, when they can't find the balance in anything, they bring it to you. They know that you have, the sound judgment to put, things into perspective. So Jama'at Ahmadiyya, the benefits are enormous.
MashaAllah. So as rightly mentioned by our guests in the studio, it's all about priorities. You have to know that whatever the Jama'at is giving you, or whatever you are doing for the betterment of the Jama'at, is rather going for your own betterment and not for the Jama'at. We would come to the audience once again. We will first go to our brother behind there. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Mahmoud Mamtaz. I come from Wa in the Upper West region. The reason I place myself at the disposal of the Jama'at as a servant, it is because the history I inherited in the part of the country I come from, the circumstances under which the Jama'at was established in my area. I come from a very strong Ahmadiyya family. My grandfather, Alhaji Imam Sali, he was the one who traveled all the way to Sorpon, converted to an Ahmadi at the time, and then sent the message of the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, to Wa and the Northern Territories at the time. And he faced serious persecution. Members of my family died for the sake of Jama'at. I didn't meet uncles. I myself have been marginalized. I have faced discrimination. I have been insulted. I have met confrontations as a result of his work. And that is the inheritance, the responsibility he has asked us, his family, to carry on as Hazrat Abu Bakr and his following. They did, and the way his family has carried on the burden of the message of God. So service to Jama'at, I have seen it as not just as a way of seeking Allah's favors and blessings, but also as a family responsibility and as a personal commitment I have, because I know that on the day of resurrection, I am going to answer to not just to the prophet and to God, but I'm also going to answer to my grandfather. Yes.
MashaAllah. That is a very nice one there from our brother Mumtaz Sahib. It's talking about the family. You and I are also in one way or the other, or one day, or in the future, we are also going to build a family. So let's make sure that we instill this discipline of Jama'at Ahmadiyya, dedicating ourselves to the service of Jama'at Ahmadiyya. We make sure that we instill this in our families so that this thing would continue and continue and continue. And as you will be answerable to your grandfather, same way your grandchildren would also be answerable. Yes, so we will take from our brother here. We will come back to you. So, okay. So yes, that is this is still Real Talk Africa. We are still discussing the service of the Majlis Qudamul Ahmadiyya, the male wing organization of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in Ghana, and how they are rendering their services to the Jama'at. Please, you can go on with your submission.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm very happy to be part of this program. Actually, we've heard so many inspiring stories from our leaders, and I would say we are blessed to have people like this leading the Majlis here in Ghana. I want to inquire from them, how are they also training other followers, other prospects, to take the mantle from them, as eventually they will move from Majlis Kudama Muja to maybe Ansarullah. So how are they also going to train people?
Mashallah, that is a very nice question. We will now move to our brother behind there before we come and take the answers. Even before the answer, I would like to say something small. Our brothers here, as they've been mentioned, Kumasi. I also happen to come from Kumasi. And talking of the role they have played, I think I myself, serving the Jama'at now, dedicating my life to the service of the Jama'at, I would also say they played a very, very big role. I knew of Wabedu Sahib as a young boy. He was always being called Osofo, that is a missionary. I never knew he hadn't been to Jamia. I believed he was a missionary because of the way he lived his life. It was later on we got to know he hadn't gone to Jamia, and he wasn't a real missionary, as in by the title, but he lived as a true missionary. And Mr. Hanif, even in our JHS, when we used to follow them to the AMSAC activities, even at that time, the kind of responsibilities they used to shoulder, or they used to put on the young ones, so that they will be able to take up the mantle of the Jama'at activities or the Jama'at, it was very, very amazing. And I think most of the people from Ashanti region, you would know, would have certainly taken something from these people. So I'm not answering for them, but that is something small I would say, just to, before I come for the answer. My brother at the back there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Shabir Abdul Karim Khalid, and my question goes to Naib Sadr. He mentioned that he was doing his PhD, and he's also doing the professional law course, and we happen to be in the same field, and I know how demanding the professional law course is, especially with regards to reading. And then I want to know how he strikes the balance with reading the law books, very heavy books, of course, and the Jama'at literature, because I know he's very well knowledgeable in Jama'at literature. So I would want to know how he strikes the balance.
Okay, so before we take that from Hanif Sahab, we would let Wahab Sahab tell us something small about how he is nurturing the young ones to also take up the mantle as they move on or they move ahead.
You know, as you serve in Jama'at, definitely you have some people you work with, and all we can do is that we pray for them and then try to impart whatever knowledge and experience, little knowledge and experience we have gained over, our short periods of life that we have gained. We try to impart it on those people, those ones who we are older than. So that's the little we do. As much as possible, we try to, engage with the Atfal and encourage them. Whenever there is an Atfal program, for instance, I try to find time to attend that Atfal program, and then if you attend a program in Atfal where I am there, for instance, you will know that I have a unique way of, trying to get them. When you go to Atfal programs, you realize that as the speeches are being delivered, they hardly listen. They are playing about. So before any speech is delivered, I'll particularly pick the mic and tell them that when the speech, is done, I will ask a few questions, and then I'll reward those who were able to partake. So if you go to Ashanti region, I'm sure that many of the kids, when you ask them, they will tell you that I used to come with 1 CD notes, very new 1 CD notes. The red ones, then I'll go and put it there. The kids, when they see that, they try to listen. And when I ask the question and you get it correct, I'll give you a reward. So those are for the kids, and as I said, we also try to impart the little experience and the little knowledge and point, you know, some of the young ones who are not kids, those behind our generation, we try to point them in the right directions as much as we can.
Mashallah, Mr. Ahmed Saib.
Yes, there is one, should I call it trick? I learned from
A formula.
A formula I learned from our current saddle, Mr. Nasir Bunsu. That is, as a leader, leading from the front, taking the first step, letting people see that you are actually involved. Especially in Wakarama. I remember we went to Kolebu mortuary to do Wakarama there. You know the mortuary. Once we went there, everybody was afraid to even enter. But as the saddler himself, those times he was the regional guide, as he took the first step to enter and then stick the mob and then started, it blew away all the fears and then people started following suit. So it is one thing that you as a leader try to lead from the front. If you think that this is blessed and you are telling the people that this is blessed, then they should see you fighting for it, crumbling for it, and they also follow you.
Yeah. Mashallah. Hanif Sahib, I would have wanted you to take on that same question, but the question that gentleman asked, the fat books you are learning, how are you still able to get that time for the Jama'at and also for your books?
Yes, thank you. In fact, I was very interested in that question too, but my brother Shabir has given me a more difficult question to answer. So, my colleagues have earlier mentioned that it's about priorities. For mine, it's beyond priorities. It also includes miracles. I see them as such. I already mentioned that the Khalifa once prayed for me so that I'll succeed. And it put that condition in my mind that everything I set out, I'll succeed. Another person who inspired me, because he believes that if you are good enough in Jama'at Ahmadiyya, everything you set out to do, is our current Amir, Movinur Mohammed bin Saleh. Since 2014, he became the Amir. Whenever I met him, he told me, Hanif, you can do everything. Do your PhD. Then later, do this, do that. And I think he studied me very well before saying those things. So right now, what I do really is that I have studied myself, my strengths, how I can learn best. I have figured out that I learn best with study groups. I have my own strengths. In the law, I'm very good in statutes. I'm not good in cases. So I have friends who I easily get information as far as cases are concerned. So I try to gel them together. For the PhD, honestly, I don't know how Allah is pushing me through. Occasionally, the exams clash in a way, but I have to multitask. I have to travel between Kumasi and Sunyani overnight, go and write this paper, come back, write this one. And Allah has never made the hours clash anyway. The days have always staggered. So the difficulty I face is the headache and then the risk of failure. But I have not failed. I have not gotten anything worse than B. So I say it's a miracle, and it's also an attempt to aspire as people tell you you can do it. I just try to be confident, and it works out. And by way of the bit I said I'll add, I have always worked for the younger ones to be a role model. You know the benefit I get from that? I can't misbehave. That has helped me a lot from AMSAC days, personally. Because I know people are looking up to me, and I actually want them to look up to me, even when I'm alone, apart from the fear of Allah factor, I also know that I will disappoint too many people if I get things wrong. So they have pushed me so much. The things I'm doing is just to let them know they can do it, like my Amir told me I can do it. I make sure I do things in the new ways that the youth identify with. If you are doing any programs, let your isharat be on point. Let the pictures be crisp. Use pull-ups. Use social media. You identify them. The mothers started coming with their children. I want you, particularly me and Wahab Edu say, they'll come and tell us, please send this my child to Tarbiyah classes, even though his age is not up, because I've heard about you guys. You're able to turn them to be interested in Majlis. How do you do it? So we know what they like. And so these are some of the things we do. Let us all focus on inspiring young ones. Everybody has a reason why they go wayward. It's environment. They are never condemned. Just bring them on track. Inshallah, everything will be fine. That is what I have for the youth.
MashaAllah. Wa alaikum salam. That is a very good one from our guests here in the studios. They are telling us that everything do not come that easy. We have to strive for something. We would be wrapping up, but we want to just get something brief from all three of you. You've soared higher and higher, but we all know that in this world of ours, nothing comes easy. There must have been some challenging times, whether due to Jama'at, it affected your social life, or because of the social work you are in, it somehow was affecting the Jama'at activity. We want to know some of these challenges and how you were able to overcome them. Just brief something for us.
Well, as I already said, I prioritize everything. So the Jama'at always comes first. So I don't normally face any challenges as far as my social issues are concerned. I would say that one challenge that I have personally had when it comes to working for the Jama'at is health-wise. I'm generally a very healthy person, but I have a chronic issue with my stomach that it can upset me anytime. So sometimes it tends to, conflict with my movement a little. But I've always inspired myself with two people when I have any issue with that condition. First and foremost, I inspire myself with Hazrat Muslih Maud. I read from somewhere that it was a comment someone passed about him, that for the most part of his life, he was unwell. He was unwell for the most part of his life. But then we all know the successes that Jama'at Ahmadiyya chalked under his Khilafat. So anytime I feel that any health issue is trying to get in the way of my service, I remind myself of Hazrat Muslim Maud. That even if I am unwell at any particular point, I still have to move. I also inspire myself with my father. He had a condition at a point in his life with his leg. And he got sick for about 9 years. And one time he told his leg that, my friend, I am a servant of Jama'at Ahmadiyya. I have to go to places and work for the Jama'at. You cannot become a stumbling block for me. So whenever I have that issue, I tell myself that, my friend, I am a servant of Jama'at Ahmadiyya. I have to go to places and work for the Jama'at. You cannot become a stumbling block for me. And interestingly, when I say that and I set out to do what I've been assigned to do or what I have to do, Allah counts it. And that is a miracle for me.
Mr. Just a brief one on this as well.
Yes, it's an incident which I was concerned. It's about Jamil Ibrahim Badu, the role model that has been announced. I was living with him when he was appointed the Qaid, Ashanti region. And he had to organize his first conference. And unfortunately, he also had an interview for he had already stopped his previous work. He was working with a publishing company. He was not having time, so he had to put a stop to it. He was jobless, and he had a job at Kotoko. And the interview was on Friday, and it was on that Friday that he had been installed as the new Rojan Qaid, and he had to seek for permission for a job that he had not had already. He had to seek for permission that he would not be able to attend
the interview.
the interview. Looked very unwise to something to do, but he did it. Called them, told them that, look, I've been appointed as a new head of my religious youth organization, and I need to lead my people this Friday. So if you can postpone the interview to Monday, you know what? It was postponed for him.
Mashallah.
And he had a job. And from there, from that leap, he has always had that courage to change job. And alhamdulillah, he has changed like 3 jobs for the better. And for the betterment of himself and for Jama'at Ahmadiyya.
Mashallah.
This is very faith inspiring.
Mashallah. Jazakumullah for that one. Mr. Arif, we would like to end with you.
Yes. So there has never been shortage of challenges, and there is no one without challenge. Even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam faced a lot more challenges. So for me, basically, it has always been an issue of combining all the activities you have to do and making sure that it doesn't affect Jama'at Ahmadiyya or Majlis Udam al-Ahmadiyya. So when there is the risk of affecting the Majlis, it pains me a lot. Then I got to learn how to manage time and how to delegate. So right now, I delegate a lot and I manage time, but I make sure I follow up all the time to make sure that the work is done. That is how I used to put things together. Some other challenges that we frequently face are financial related, because our work demands a lot of movement, a lot of activities within the little resources we have. But again, alhamdulillah, it's more like a miracle. We have come all these years. With those challenges, we have still come this far. It tells you, once you set out to do it, Allah makes the provision for us. Jazakumullah.
Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. Our cherished viewers out there at home and wherever you are watching us from today, and to the studio audience live here with us, to our honorable guests present here today, we say Jazakumullah and al-Jaza to all of you. We would like to end the program today with this short information to all of us out there, that whatever we are doing, let us know that we might in one way or the other not know the effect that we are the effect that what we are doing would have, or how it will affect the other people who are watching us. We all know people who have helped or who have devoted their lives to the service of the Jama'at, and lo and behold, some of them wouldn't even know how far that service had gone to. But there are people beneath who are watching them in every step they take. So it's not about you taking someone and instilling the discipline in him. It's about you yourself being disciplined enough. And those people, when they see you, they would want to be like you. We should all try our possible best to devote our time to the service of the Jama'at. And in doing that, Allah Almighty is going to get closer to us, and all our steps are going to be fruitful. Until we meet again next time, this is Real Talk Africa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yami bieni ho, ese Allah. Yami bieni ho.